This may seem kind of intuitive, but believe it or not, when I started off, I didn't do this and I paid for it on more than one occasion.
Ooh-wee!
It's not just for ghetto boaters like me.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Sailing GBU. As you can see, we installed a new skylight. Just kidding. A storm came last night and all of our solar panels, our new solar panels, went flying. We had to get those in the middle of the night. It was a disaster and our bimini ripped because Matt did a dive on it, and I wish I got it on camera, but...
No, it wasn't a disaster, it was an adventure. That's what you guys said. It was
it was a really awesome adventure last night. But that is not what we're doing today. We actually have an exciting video planned. We're sailing good, bad, and ugly. 3 years ago, we bought our boat off Craigslist for $5,000. I'm Kristen, and this is Matt. We are known to break the rules and do things a little less traditional. Hit subscribe to join the adventure. Thanks to our patrons for keeping us going.
Today I want to talk to you guys about sailing and just kind of the life that goes along with it. A lot of people, obviously it's like a privilege and a blessing to be out here doing this. Recently it's happened a lot with comments and even people that I've met in real life. They say, wow, you're so lucky. When I re-rigged this rig, I threw out my old rigging and some old salt to the dock, said, wow, you sailed here with that rigging? You're really lucky. You should have never made it here. And people say, oh, you're so lucky that you made it through the hurricanes and yada, yada, yada. And that's just part of the deal. I'm here to try to help you guys understand that maybe there's some blessings that occur, but luck really is a very small part of it. Today I'm going to go over some of our systems and some of our plan Bs and our backups that give us a very small window for failure. So many things that I've thought about and pre-planned for disaster that when the disasters happen, we don't really have a panic attack. We don't have to freak out because we usually have something very solid and dependable to fall back on. Okay, so first one. This is kind of a cool one that we didn't really think to show people just because we didn't really think about it. But when we were doing our hurricane survival video, we got blasted and people were having a panic attack because, as I do now, I had my steering wheel removed. When you're living at anchor and your boat gets into house mode, walking around doing all these crazy projects, you don't want to go around that wheel all the time being this big. So we remove our wheel so that we have a lot more space to do things in the cockpit. And everyone said, oh no, it's a hurricane. What are you doing without your steering wheel on? What if you broke loose and you had to steer or do all kinds of craziness? And what I couldn't really explain to some people, and if you were one of those people that commented, is I have an emergency tiller set up. Not only for that reason, but obviously as well if my leakage breaks and I don't have my wheel steering at sea, I have another way to control my boat. And that way is this emergency tiller arm right here. What this does is it goes down to the shaft, I guess it'd be my tiller shaft, and it attaches directly to that with a pin on the inside and gives me a way to just sit here, steer the boat, and gives me a lot of control, and then it moves out of the way. So when I'm running around during a hurricane, if I were to break loose, I would still have steerage right here. Then all it does is it slides down with this over there, and then I can pin it inside. And then you can just simply, easily steer. So that's our backup plan for steerage. The next one, this is another big one, a really important one. If you're on a crossing and you shred your sail, it's on a furling, you shred your furling head sail, maybe you don't have other furling head sails. For us, we don't have other furling head sails, so if I were to have 400 miles to go at sea and I shredded this, I wouldn't have a head sail, which would hinder my sailing ability. It would make me spend more time out at sea. I couldn't get to the harbor faster, which things become very unsafe when you can't do that. So what we do is we have an extra stay, one of our old stays that we repurposed that has a swage on one end, and then we have a turnbuckle on the bottom end that I would just have to go up the mast, pin that in, and then I could run an extra stay. I don't know what it's called, maybe a bob stay or something like that. There's a term for these stays that you have additional, but I could turnbuckle that at the bottom, and then I could use my hank on sail as an emergency sail if this were to have a problem until I could get to a harbor and get it fixed. So that's our setup for that. If you re-rig, keep some of your old rigging for a stay like that, an emergency stay, or if I were just to break my existing stay, it's always good to have one that you can replace it with, because if you're out there in rough seas, your boat's rocking back and forth, even if there's no pressure on your sails, just the mast bopping back and forth can break the mast, and then once you're out there with no stick in the middle, then you're having big problems.
All right, guys, an important backup for us on our boat is to have a spare bilge pump. We have 2 set up right now, and this could save your life. If you get a hole in your boat, or if one just goes out and you have an old leaky boat like ours, you're gonna wanna get that water out. So this could save your life. You should always have one of these ready for when another one goes out. You don't want it to go out and then you have to go on Amazon or run out to the store and buy one.
Another big one. So now we can steer. We got some sails if the sails go down. Another big boy here is the motor. The engine, it's actually an engine, excuse me, don't correct me, I'm sorry. The diesel engine. I've worked a lot on this engine. I know a lot about how to make it work, but sometimes they just won't work. So if you have to get into a harbor and it's a little bit tougher to sail into, like, let's say like a Luperon, place that has a direct 90 and it's kind of small and you can't really trust the buoys because they kind of move, you're going to want to have a motor that you can directly point and shoot and kind of meander with. So if this bad boy goes out, don't fret. There is a backup for us. Okay, so to set yourself up for an extra motor, you can hip tow with your dinghy. This is why I get a lot of heat for having the 15 horse, but when we first started out, I used the 15 horse a lot, not only with my transom on the back that I would put it on, but also with hip towing. What we found best works for us is right about 1/3 of the way up the boat, you tie it off with 4 or 5 lines so that it can pull from every direction. You set the motor up. It's easier with 2 people. If I'm motoring here, I'm basically just supplying the power. With the main steering system, you're gonna control the big boat. This is just giving you a little bit of push. Now, you're not gonna be able to run it wide open. Definitely not gonna be getting 5 knots. We've averaged 3.5 to 4 knots with this system. And if you were a single-hander, you could do the same thing as well. You'd probably have to go a little bit slower and just put a long line with a kill switch on your motor. So if you have to kill it from the cockpit, you would be able to do that. But this is a great setup for if your motor breaks down, you can still get into port safely with this hip towing setup. And it's not just for ghetto boaters like me, guys whose motor is not really working. Your motor can go out for a number of different reasons. If you go to the Bahamas, which we all dream about, a lot of people have fuel problems in the Bahamas. If you get a little bubble in your tank, something happens, you're not going to be getting in. And in a place like Luperon, where it's pretty wavy on that north coast, you're going to want to be able to go ahead and get into some safer waters rather than be below deck trying to get your fuel lines bled while you're looking at that big rocky coast. All right, while we're on the subject of dinghies, this may seem kind of intuitive, but believe it or not, when I started off, I didn't do this and I paid for it on more than one occasion. Having a paddle in your dinghy, very important, because these things get a little crazy from time to time and they don't want to work. So if you don't believe me, here's one. And down here I got secondary paddle number 2. Be careful with those in more populated areas because they will be somebody else's paddle if you leave them in your dinghy in a lot of places. I'm not going to say where, but be careful with your paddle.
Where?
Key West.
I just made you say where.
Oh no!
Another great backup system that we have is our cooking. We currently run a propane stove, and some people have different things like alcohol stoves, and those things run out, and you can't always get a backup of propane. Or you might just wake up one day, want to make your coffee, you're grumpy, and your propane just goes and I know this has happened to a lot of people, and if it hasn't happened to you, it will. So we have a backup situation. We actually have 2 backup situations. We have a electric burner that we use, and that's came in handy a lot of times, but you have to have a generator for that, and that's the ultimate plan B, but you have a generator. Or you can use a grill. We have a grill that's charcoal or one of those small cans of propane, but I think it's kind of broken, so we use it for charcoal. So basically a camping stove. So there's 3 different ways. Your main way of cooking, your electric way of cooking, and then your charcoal grill. Alright guys, so showers are important. At least for me, they are. I need to get a nice cold powered shower to blow the water through these hair tendrils to get the shampoo out and soap myself up. But if your water pump isn't working, do you really just use a sponge and a cup and water? No! The answer to that is our plan B, which we actually use also for hot water showers. This is our plan B shower. You just pump this bad boy up and ooh-wee, it gives you a nice pressurized, you can change the pressure with these little different tips on here. I think you can add different type of shower heads on this, but we just use this. And if you need a hot shower, you just heat it up on your stove and pour it in here. And then you got a hot shower.
Oh, sorry, you guys caught me in the middle of something. Just kidding. Alright guys, so to me, the ultimate plan B here, the Honda generator, the 2000 water, seems kind of self-explanatory. Obviously generators make electricity, but this is something that comes in very handy, like we touched on earlier, for the cooking, but also, as you can see today, it's kind of rainy, cloudy, so any amount of solar you have isn't going to keep up if you're running a refrigerator and systems like that. And even if you have like a really expensive gen set in your boat, when you're going to be traveling all over the world, you're going to be in places where if you do have a small problem with your gen set, it's going to be hard to get the parts. And I've seen $250,000 boats run a $800 generator for months at a time off the side of their boat just because you can't get the parts for things like that. So this is a big one. This is huge. This really helps. And we've had this thing for 3 years. I think I changed the oil on it twice. These things are awesome. They're $1,000, but they're worth every penny, and these can bail you out. If your batteries need charging for your crank batteries, anything like that, you can hook this up and it's gonna bail you out. This thing is I would say a must-have. All right, this next plan B is definitely gonna be one that's gonna hold you down, literally, because it's anchors. You gotta have extras. We have
get out of here.
It's gonna hold you down. Anyway, extra anchors, as you guys well know from my hurricane prep, I have 2 anchors out right now, and then voila, I have a whole nother anchor and a whole nother road set. This one was old, came with the boat, but as you see, I purchased another new one here because you can never have enough ground tackle. I probably run about 300 pounds of anchor on this boat total, just because you never know when not only you're going to need it, but you might have to give your neighbor one, you might have to give your homie one, you might need a bigger one for your dinghy, you might need to tie off in the mangroves 100 different ways, so you can never have enough anchor and you can never have enough rope. All right, so this one's pretty simple. You're going to want to have backup for your money. So when you're traveling internationally, you're spending money at different islands, sometimes your bank will freak out and say, why did that card get swiped 3 times in another country, and they'll cancel your stuff.
You put travel notes on.
Yeah, you got to put your travel notes on too. But it's always good to have a backup. We have the PayPal card. If you notice, it has Kristen's name on it, because that's another plan B. Don't ever have the man with access to the money. Every cruiser I ever met, the wife controls all the money, so that just is what it is. But you want to have backups. We usually have the PayPal card, the bank card, and then we carry a little bit of cash as well, because sometimes everyone's switching over to like the hand carry credit card swipers, and when like the receipt's out or something, these kids will just keep swiping your card, and you want to make sure that no craziness is happening, your whole bank account's not getting ripped out.
When you can't get back to America. Yeah. When you can't get back to
When you can't get back to whatever your home country is. If you have to call over the phone, there's a bunch of million things. When you have different phone cards from different countries, they want to verify through text, and it's a big nightmare. So have extra cards, have extra cash. That way you can eat while you duke it out with the bank.
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned some planned B backups to maybe save your life. If you knew all of them already, share some that we didn't share. Put those down. That hurts. Anyway, share some that maybe we didn't go through, and maybe we all can learn something.
But they're not only going to save your life, they're going to save your patience, your emotional well-being, and just they're going to make you feel better about life. You know, it could be a disaster to lose your steering out there at sea, and then you know, if you got a little rudder you can slap on there, it's just going to make you feel better about life. You're going to feel calm and you're going to go,
really, you want plan C's, D's, E's, and F's, but...
Yeah, and if you know the rest
well, we
of your
can't really
ABCs,
afford that many, so... Our weather's been pretty difficult here lately. Every night, for some reason, the storms, the winds are coming. We have to fix our bimini, like we said, but that's going to probably be upcoming soon. In the next video, we want to redo all that, install our solar panels, go down that direction. And we only have a few more projects left, guys. And then we're going to be zooming out to the islands, hopefully. Hopefully. Fingers crossed, right?
fingers crossed, arms crossed, eyes crossed, everything.
Also, if you guys checked out our merch for our last video, thank you guys for everyone who checked it out. We appreciate it. And make sure you like this video. Comment your plan Bs down below and subscribe if you're new. And we'll see you guys next week. You got anything else to say?
That's it.
Bye, guys.